go.
Hello there, you little Belgian.
Brussels. There you go, you little stinker. So, yeah, my problem is every time I see something like that audio music, I'm thinking maybe I should buy that and just, you know, try and get better. Like I said, most people just out of these things in computers, but the sound cards never, you know, you can't.
Yeah, a lot of people don't realize that.
Yeah.
That
I mean,
by
it
getting.
goodish, but,
what's that thing called again that you got?
yeah, a DAC, a DAC, a digital analog converter.
DAC.
And it's just it's a USB thing, so you plug it into your computer and then plug the headphones into that. So it's coming out of the USB port.
Has that been around for a long time?
Well, they didn't catch on. Apparently, I read in about maybe 5 years, but they never really caught on. They've kind of caught on now. I don't know why now all of a sudden. But I normally
Probably
I've read
because
about
people are getting better headphones.
Yeah, I know. Unless I'm joining the community of better sounding music, and I'm starting to read about it more, and I'm starting to, I didn't realise that existed, you know, that kind of thing. But yeah, so it just like it bypasses the sound card, and it's just a direct output from the computer through the USB, and then the little controller picks it up and amplifies it and does all the conversion to, you know, for the headphones. And that's, you know, like I say, you can pay a bloody fortune for them.
Do you really get better sound quality if you spend $100 or $200 or $300 for a fancy DAC?
I mean, well, that's just it. You also need the headphones as well. So I'm building it up. I'm getting the good headphones first. See what that does.
Yeah.
Then I'll get the digital analog converter. Well, that's coming as well in the post. That's just it. I keep ordering these things and thinking, and the bloody everything's going to come together. Going, which piece shall I try first? What's going to make the music sound better?
You've got a lot of good gear. You should become a podcaster now.
Well, but like you mentioned about the fact that, you know, you're right, podcasts and people like that are using these great headphones, you know, I mean, because just the comfort and hours of listening, you know, you've got to be able to kind of do all this listening for hours with a really good set of headphones. It's neutral sound, so hoping my new ones are going to be like that. It's amazing the research you can do on them, you know, on people on YouTube, things like this, telling you this is great. And, you know. It always seems to be the same 2 or 3 though, so always the same 2 or 3. You want to spend around about $100.
Did you read? Yeah.
Hello,
Dougie.
You know what I'd love, and a friend of mine had one, I'd love a reel-to-reel from the 70s, an old reel-to-reel.
Now we're going back.
Set, you know, proper, the big, huge, really.
Akai, I remember that.
Yeah, exactly.
AKA,
Akai, they did some great ones. But, you know, the days, because they were the ultimate recording thing. Really proper huge tape, going around really kind of quick rather than the slow, the mini tape, the cassette.
And you can set them up to go slow too. Apparently
You
Louis
can.
Armstrong
Yeah.
set up a reel-to-reel on slow and just recorded hundreds of hours of himself just talking and stuff.
Yeah, I think it's 7.5 inch per second. I think the old cassettes we knew were like just less than 2 inch per second. I think reel-to-reels went to like 15 inch per second. So, you know, but I just thought it looked so cool. And you recorded to that. But even then, you think about it nowadays. What we do nowadays, it's 1-to-1. You know, you've got to record play as it's recording. You can't just transfer it over. You know, it's like everything has to be in real time.
I wonder if someone like Dave Grohl has one of those. I mean, what is that? 1 inch and 2 inch tape with all the.
They were, you know, I don't know what they were. About maybe a half-inch reel to. Yeah, I don't know.
They look wider. Look like an inch.
Well, it depends. I think that's more. You're right. That's more the studio stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, the big.
But those
you're right
guys
like
can
that.
afford to have a studio thing and listen to the rock. And maybe they do because they have to. You know, that's really an important part of the process. And that's a lot of decisions to make when you have like, you know, 30 channels. And how are you going to mix it?
Yeah, I think you should need, you know, the best. That's the whole thing about it. The source needs to be the best possible.
Yeah.
You can degrade it from then, but if it's shit, they always say if you put shit in, shit will just come out.
Yeah.
You know, so if it's not at the start, no amount of digital audio converter or great headphones is going to make it sound any better. Yeah. So they always said that the most important in the old days, forget about amps and amplifiers. It was all about the turntable because that was the source material.
Yeah.
You know, put that thing on, and no matter what came out, you know, you had to have great stuff after it as well. But you know, if that was shit, the great amplifier and speaker's not going to make a blind bit of difference.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was always amazed by that. I mean, you know.
So what's on the wish list now? Turntable?
Well, honestly, if I had the money, I would go back to a good turntable. I'd start buying records again. Or reel-to-reel. I wish I could get. The thing is that, again, that's just recording from. You can record from CDs and play it on your.
I think you could get an Akai for 20 or 50 bucks because they're big and people don't want them in their houses.
Well, I don't
anymore.
know if they can still get. I don't know really. I mean, I know the friend of mine up here, you know, English guy. He had one inside his house, but when he sold his house, I don't know what he did with it. The problem is where do you get the tapes from? You know, do they still manufacture the tapes, or are they out there somewhere where you can buy them, or keep using the same one, record over it again and again, of course. But you're right, they were huge. I mean, I don't know how hours you could put on these things. Get you.
Actually, it's a great memory of growing up is going to my girlfriend's house, and her dad was a psychiatrist, and he would record some of their sessions on the reel-to-reel, but he was also a jazz aficionado. So he had dozens of reel-to-reel tapes.
Well, one of the famous ones was UHER, which produced the mini ones. You know, I'm talking about proper tapes, but it's like a mini...
I remember that in the 60s. The only recording that exists of my brother's band called the Psychics in the 60s was one that squeaky voiced Dale made on reel-to-reel. Those tapes are still around, but they're kind of messed up. But the recording was called Craig, and I'm sure it was just a voice recorder that my dad had for his work or something.
But I just like the look of it. I mean, they're about this box. I think the reel would be up here, but it's just you watching it go through the thing, and you know, I can imagine. Well, the sound was just fantastic then. You know,
Monty Edwardson has some cylinders. He
really?
Yeah. Cylinder recordings.
Yeah.
And then apparently when they practiced, when Bob Dylan was playing with them, I guess I should say, when Robert Zimmerman was in Monty's band, they had used one of those wire recorders, like we saw in Sound City. That Woody Guthrie's daughter had.
Exactly. Yeah.
That live recording of Woody Guthrie. By the way, we should buy that because they obviously digitized that.
Yeah, I'll download it tomorrow.
Yeah.
Well,
it's from that guy's studio that they featured in. Oh, I love these videos where the dog barks.
What was I going to say about? Oh yeah, that Dolby. When Dolby came in, Dolby B, you know, Dolby noise reduction for the tapes.
Yeah, I never understood that. Why do you want to reduce the noise?
I'm
from Seattle. The more noise, the better.
Well, it's the tape. I wanted it artificially added some things to the top end, and it would reduce it back. But when it took it back, it would take back the tape piece as well. So it added a high frequency signal to it, and then when he played it back and took it back off again, off came the tape piece. So in theory, you still had all the highs there. That's how it worked. I remember reading about that. I was always into music.
She jumped out of the back of the car.
God, yeah.
Just gonna grab a